Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to the conversation. If you have been tuning in to us for the last, what, 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks now, you have been engaged in some conversation because, man, oh my goodness, it's been going down up in here. If you were here last week, oh my goodness, it was hot, hot, hot. So thank you for being with us today. This is M.E. Porter, the Solution Sage, and I am here with my other beautiful co-host ladies. Are y'all there?
We're
Hey,
here.
hello.
Woo, woo, woo. So we have, let's see, Famira, the Diamond Diva, Alaina O, and Stevie Aisha Mills, Miss the Funtastic herself. So today we are going to just jump right on in and we're going to talk about some things. So I'm going to go ahead and shove us off and say, ladies, let's talk about it. So what we are talking about on today is the importance or the value of your soul self. And as you heard me say, I am M.E. Porter, your solution sage. And so it's kind of easy to ascertain that I came up with today's topic. But I'm excited about it because it's one of those topics that really gets down to just being our authentic selves. And in some way or another, we've each really touched on everything we've talked about thus far, even when we had publisher of Cultivating Your It Factor. Everything has really touched on the idea of living whatever you're living it through your authentic self. And so today, I just want to really dig a little bit deeper into the notion of the value of really living your soul self, which I consider that to be living from that deep, untainted part of you. I call it the place where you and God resides. You know, the Bible says, "He that is in me." Well, I believe that He is is what my soul stays connected to, and so that I'm in constant, continual communication with He that is in me. And so, for me, I describe the soul as if you could take your hand and reach into your body, you would just keep reaching until you actually touched the hand of God. That's how deep it is. And so that is the pure place, the divine place. And so many of us, we don't operate from that place just simply because we don't know how. We have not tapped into it. And so one of the things that I want to talk about today, and I'm going to pose this question and go ahead and let my lovely co-host join in. One of the questions that I would like to start off with is, what situations do you find yourself in when you are the least authentic? And so I'll answer first. And so my answer to that question is, and it took me some years to figure this out because I'm already pretty bold and I'm pretty outspoken, and I rarely find myself in situations where I want to be anybody other than me. However, there are a few situations where I tend to teeter a little bit, and I'm not exactly Marilyn, and so and that's real important. It's real important to know what situations put you in that place. And so for me, one of my most unauthentic places is when I need to tell the truth and it's going to affect my children. When I need to tell a truth that's going to affect my children, I am always compelled to shift and become somebody that I'm not, because I am a truth teller. But I'm always compelled to shift, to change lanes and say, well, you know what, this might not be the best thing to do. And it never feels good. It always feels sickening to me. And so that's my answer. And I just would love for you guys to jump in, well, for you ladies to jump in and just answer that question. What are some situations where you are the least authentic?
I'll start. Everyone else is kind of muted. um, I don't. I'm like you, Marilyn. That's very hard. I show up the same a lot. There are times, probably since I got free, I show up the same all the time, and it's truly, I think, the least authentic. Maybe when I'm into a new room, because most people, when I enter a new room, believe it or not, I'm quiet if I don't have any reference to the room because I'm trying to fill out the room. And
Right.
so probably when you first meet me, some people have different first impressions. They might say, I've heard different things over the years. I've heard Stevie is stuck up because I'm not talking normally. And so when I enter the room, it's not always like, hey, what's up, y'all? It's not always that. It depends on the climate of the room. But if I'm in a room where I've never met anybody, don't know, I'm going to be in the place of let me fill this out, let me observe where are my people, where are my tribe. I'm gonna show up like that. But everywhere else, the same Stevie you see dancing on is the same Stevie you see dancing at church. They pick at me at church. They tell me that I do the electric slide to a worship song. I'm like I'm not that bad, but I do get my dance on at church. So I think that's where I would say I'm the least authentic for a very few short minutes, and then I fill the room and it all changes. But that's my answer.
But in those few minutes, how does that feel? In
How's
those,
it feel?
in those
It's,
few
I
minutes.
mean, to me, it's kind of comfortable because it's comfortable for those few short minutes because it's not long, but I am in a place where it's like okay, and then somebody from somewhere will either say, "Hey, Stevie," or something something will spark it. But if I'm not in a place where I don't know, then I'm like, okay, how loud can I be? How active can I be?
Right.
There are different sides. I used to tell people Stevie is very different than Aisha. Now it's all together Stevie Aisha. But they're two. Stevie is more like the subdued, the just more quiet, more professional. Aisha is the turn up girl. So it's very different. I think it. I'm trying to see which one reigns most in the room when I first walk in. So I don't really think it's very uncomfortable. It's just the way in which I process.
That's awesome. That's good. That's good.
Thank you, thank you.
So I guess I'll go next. So for me, I guess it would really probably be when I'm around certain levels of authority. So, and what I mean by that is um, when I'm around people that have certain levels of notoriety or that are supposed to be the authority in the room. A lot of times I don't always speak up, and I don't always say things that I know need to be said because of the fact that I don't know, like not really. I guess wanting to be looked at like, who is this girl? Talking about this thing, and um, she's not the authority in the room, and then just being very conscious of not being deemed as disrespectful to a person's station or level a platform when it comes to authority. So that is an area that I definitely still have issue around showing up authentically, fully as Famira. So, but it's not really necessarily, I don't think, from a place of fear. It's more so of um, being misconstrued as being disrespectful, like always trying to make sure that I'm exercising respect to their station and and their platform and who they are. That sometimes when those hard truths need to be spoke, or that something needs to be spoken up against or on, sometimes I don't when I know I should.
Mm.
So.
And the what feeling does that invoke? Like what is the feeling when you know that you're not showing up exactly the way you need to show up?
Normally, to be honest, I don't really face the feeling until after the fact. So then it's more of a feeling of regret and disappointment in myself, in the fact that you should have said something, especially if in the end what I was gonna speak against could have been avoided. the outcome of the situation. If I would have spoke up in certain situations, the consequences or the end result could have been avoided or redirected into to a better, better ending. But I didn't speak up, so it definitely becomes a place of like regret and disappointment.
Yeah, yeah. I understand that. I can definitely relate to that.
Hmm. This is such a good question. Oh wow, Marilyn. Um, yeah, I can really resonate with everything that everybody has said. Around the newness of the space, the authority in the room. But I really think that where I kind of struggle to be my most authentic is when I am in relationship with somebody that I know is really sensitive or
Yeah.
really tender around their emotions or their self-esteem or whatever. I don't I'm a I think that I am an inherent peacemaker, and so and in peacemaker, I want to make peace. And then in peacekeeper, when I see peace, even if that peace is not necessarily in alignment with truth, I
Yes.
want to keep that. I want everything to just kind of be okay. And so I find myself, just kind of on the outside looking in as I consider this question, seeing that that's the, I hold back a lot. I don't say a lot of things because, number one, I don't want to, I'm very sensitive to abuse, and I can be a very straightforward, to the point person. It's like my words sometimes can just kind of dig because it's just, it is what it is.
Yeah, it's just real. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that a lot of times I try to protect people from my realness if I feel like they're not ready.
Hmm. I so relate to that. I mean, when you just said, I was like, oh, that I do that part too.
Yeah. That's how I felt when you were saying the authority piece.
Right, like I do that too because because often because I am very straightforward, I'm very blunt. Um to me when it comes to conversation, I'm very compassionate. So
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of like always this dueling force because of the fact that I don't really do gray. It's black or white. It is what it is. And everything I say, I say it out of love, but it's not always received that way because
Mm-hmm.
of the fact that it's not sugar coated. And
Yeah.
so people tend to think that because I didn't sugarcoat it, that I'm being mean or that, that it's not coming in love. And so I do oftentimes, like you said, downplay it to keep the peace. I
Mm-hmm.
call it, I go with the flow, a lot of times and just ride the wave out and just say, okay, because I'm concerned with how they're going to receive what I have to say.
Mm-hmm.
I totally get what you're saying in regards to that, and from the peacekeeping um, state.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna say this because I absolutely understand what both of y'all are saying. But I'm not and I don't want to say this in the sense of I'm not a peacekeeper because of course the Bible calls us to be peacekeepers. But I'm kind of more like the Peter. I'm kind of stumping the ground and cutting off ears. So I don't show up with the idea of I'm gonna keep peace. I show up knowing that I'm gonna ruffle some feathers, and so for me, it's almost the opposite. When I show up and people immediately warm up to me and immediately like me, that's uncomfortable for me because I know when I show up on the scene, there's something going on that I need to speak to. And so I need to figure out what is it, what is it that I came here for? And so I'm going to give you guys an example. I'm really good with examples. I love telling stories. So last night I had a phone call with uh, one of my coaching clients, and I had recently established her 501. her 501 organization for her. And she wants to put together a coalition of people. And so all of these people were on the phone last night. They were all already on the phone before I called in. And so I already know that when I get on the phone, I am already expecting that I'm about to shake this up. I don't know what they're saying. I don't know what they're talking about. But I know when I show up, the entire atmosphere of that call is going to change. So they're on the phone, and I show up, and I hit *9, and it says this call is being recorded, and instantly the entire atmosphere is shaken up. And the question becomes, who is she? And so in those moments right there, when I know that the question is, who is she, those are my most authentic moments, when I show up and people want to know who I am. When I get to function in the exact way in which God has designed me to be. Because I don't show up to go with the flow. I don't show up to keep the peace. I show up to say, something is wrong here, and I came to give y'all the guidance and the instruction to fix it. And so for me, those are my absolute most authentic moments. And so piggybacking off of the question of what are your least authentic moments, my next question was going to be, number one, what are your most authentic moments? And then number two, just so we can just kind of conversate, it's not like I'm interviewing you guys, but my next question would be, do you think that healing and restoration is possible outside of in total authenticity, operating from that soul place, that place of divinity, where that's where you and God reside?
Yes. 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 And I don't know if anybody else wants to go first, but I will say yes to begin that. Does anyone else want to go first?
No, go ahead.
They're like, it's all you? Okay, I rock with it. That's what the it factor really came from. My own healing, my own restoration, because I was so different that I tried to fit in with a whole lot of different groups of people. I tried to fit in the employee realm. I tried to fit in this realm, that realm, and it just didn't work. And I'm like, what is it? So the it factor came out of my own healing, because I'm like, I know it's other people like me out here in this world that we just don't fit in. I mean, you don't know what you might. One day you might see me with straight hair. One day you might see me with a fro. One day I'm just Stevie. At the end of the day, that's all I am. And I think when I learned to truly rock out that it factor and who I am, that's when I am most authentic. Like, every life doesn't have to be so serious. Just like we had to call on Saturday morning about the leadership team. I'm just like, okay, y'all, we having fun. This is if it's dead, if something is dead and it's not fun, I don't do well there, and I'm gonna shake it up to make it fun. And I think what I had to learn in life and with people is that it's gonna sound real stuck up, but as great and as awesome and as powerful and beautiful and all these great verbs that I am, adjectives that I am, there are people who just don't like me. And I called Miss Marilyn the other day, and I was having a moment. I said, I don't get it. I don't get it, and I need your help. And I said, I could have called a lot. I told her, I was like, I could have called so many people this day, but I had to call somebody who's going to give it to me real. And I didn't need this kumbaya moment at the time. I needed somebody to listen to me and be like, Stevie, this is what it is, and that's what you gave me. And I think I'm learning that when this hanger honors fall off, then I'm able to fully breathe, because there are people who are intimidated by me just living, by me breathing. People are intimidated by me, and I can't do anything for that. And when I try to, then my authenticity, just me being real, is when I try to do that, it falls off. And I've learned that I don't have to be anybody but just Stevie. And when I try to be anybody but just Stevie, I mean, people gonna leave, they're gonna come anyway. So why not just enjoy being me?
Yes.
That's good.
And that's the truth. That's it. So I I just really have learned that this year. You know, this has been a whole different type of year for me. And I just, at the end of the day, if it's just me, my family, and most people know I call my true friends my family anyway. Those people, if they're around me, nothing else matters. If God is in the picture, that's what matters. It's nothing else. Nothing about a business owner, nothing about a brand, nothing about that. As long as I'm able to breathe and live and do what I'm put here to do, my mission, I'm good.
Woo! Yes. Now that is appreciating the soul itself right there. But I'm gonna say this before anybody else says anything because I was so excited after that talking about because I want to tell you guys what it all came down to, and so that she doesn't have to feel like she's being stuck up or conceited or any of those things. This is what I told her: if you want people to stop hating on you, girl, stop being great, because I mean the greatness is in you, and so the only way to stop the haters is to stop the greatness, and we can't stop it. It's who we are. So I love that. I love that. I love it. I love it. So, Alaina, you look like you had something to say, girl. So let's talk about it.
Um, yeah, yeah, I got something to say. I can't even remember the first question, but I think what I think you asked was, is it possible to
Is healing
heal?
and restoration possible without living from that place of authenticity?
No, no, because there's so many things that have to be, faced. There's so many things that have to be owned and have to be acknowledged and have to be, confessed and have to, just be embraced. We worship God in spirit and in truth. And I mean, He's truly on the inside of us. And so for us to get to Him, we have to go through our own truth, to get there. So that, and then the time that I feel most authentic is when someone is asking me for a word. Someone is asking me for the truth. Someone has, come to me either as a friend or in the coaching environment or, whatever. And I mean, and this thing with the coaching environment is like brand new because I could still, no, no. It wasn't the peacekeeper and the peacemaker. It was not really being rooted and grounded in the fact that I know that I know that I know that I have a system that I can, a question, a series of question sequences that I can take people through to get them to their breakthrough and to get them to their transformation. And so that was why I was holding back before in the coaching relationship. But when people come to me and ask me for the truth, ask me for the, really, it's like they're it's almost like a validation, like they're asking me for the strength and they're asking me to unleash that power of who I am and, my revelation and, my ability to intuitively kind of pick up things. And without that request, without that invitation, I'm back to the other side where it's like I, kind of feel like I kind of gotta, play the middle or whatever. So it's just so interesting to me how this is showing up as two sides of the same coin. So I feel most inauthentic when I don't, I'm kind of playing with this victim mentality or this underdog energy, and I don't want to step on anybody's toes. But when somebody comes to me and says, give it to me straight, tell me what you see for me and how you can see to help me be able to better see for myself, then I blossom. I stand straight up like a poppy and just, the tallest flower in the field.
Absolutely. So do I hear you saying? And I want Stevie and Famira to chime in on this question. So, Alaina, do I hear you saying that for you to be your most authentic self, you need the validation or the invitation of others?
I am saying that, and I'm not saying that for me to be my most authentic self, I have to have that.
Okay.
I'm honestly answering your question about when that shows up for me.
Okay.
So yeah, when I am again rooted and grounded in the knowledge that I am with somebody who can take it, and
Yes.
I'm with somebody who is actually on that journey of seeking, and they want those deeper answers. They want that deeper conversation, and they want that, richer, um, um, connection to who they are and how they're being in the world. Then it's on and popping.
Yes.
I think it's
Yeah.
like a safe place invitation. You know what I'm saying? Like all of this is a safe place invitation. When you feel like you're among the safe place, and
Yes.
I think I was talking to Alaina about this, or someone very recently about the dream giver. And also that video. I know I showed Alaina the video that I'm really big on. But when you go to your safe place, then you will feel like you can be your soul self because
Hmm.
you're safe. That's a human need, human
Hmm.
nature, to
Yeah.
be safe.
That's
So if I'm crazy and wild and this is gonna be an extreme example, but when people go to nudist colonies, they go there because there are other nudists. They don't just go out somewhere to be
Nude at the
nude. They
nude
don't
at the
feel
grocery
like they're
store.
gonna get arrested or they feel like something's gonna happen. They go out to nudist colonies with all the other nudists,
hmm
and that's because they feel safe.
So
love, safety, and belonging is definitely the human needs and stuff. So that's good.
Absolutely.
so for me, I'm gonna answer the question too, but just staying on this topic. So listen to what Alaina said. When you say the invitation, to me, that automatically the first word that came to my mind is the permission. And
Hmm.
so often we talk about not looking for permission from others to be ourselves, but because even for me, I know, like we were saying, you're your most authentic when people basically give you that permission for you to be so, because they're saying they can take it, they can handle it, they want it. Um, and so to me, it was interesting kind of how that showed up when we really, and all of us, and because I do know you all on on a different level than just this conversation that we're having right this at this very second, but knowing that we all operate from the platform of saying that we don't need permission from others to be ourselves, but yet and still it's still that level of permission through the invitation that we're looking for in order to show up totally authentic. um,
Hmm.
so I just think
Let me just say to that, that there is our work, the work that we are called to do in the world, is the work that we are called to do within ourselves. And so I don't want to work with anybody or listen to anybody stand up on a platform and talk to me about, permission and invitation and validation and, being yourself and authenticity and all of that stuff if they have not at some point in their life struggled with it.
right.
I can't, you're not, I am not your tribe, I'm not your audience. You can't speak to me about that. And so, I think that we teach what we most need to learn, and as we come together as women on platforms like this and we share our truth, I think that this is really how we, begin to serve others who are in that place now. I don't have it all together, and if I were to sit here and tell you that I had it all together, then you need to turn this off and you need to take yourself, to another platform because it's just not true. So I
Right.
just wanted to add that.
And I totally agree. That's why I feel like it's so awesome that the conversation went there. You know what I'm
Mm,
saying? To show that even still with being, I look at the four of us of definitely being women of great power and of great, relationship, especially, spiritually with God, to be able to say that yes, and still we want that permission to come in, because really, when it comes to that aspect of it, of being invited into someone's sacred space to be able to pour into them, I personally feel like the permission isn't necessary, because when you look at it, even with our relationship with God, we couldn't have that relationship with him until we invited him in. He doesn't go anywhere where he is not invited. It does not have that permission to come in. And so it's definitely, to me, in this conversation that we're having, it's a correlation to just how Christ is with us, that we are with those that we're called to. Yes, we know, we have this calling, we're meant to speak to them. However, we need that invitation to say, yes, I'm ready for this next level. I'm ready to go there with you, and for you to be able to pour into my life in that way. And so for me, just to answer the question, that too is my truth. Like, that's when I am most authentic, when someone seeks me out, because I oftentimes always tell people, don't ask me the question if you don't want to know the answer. And so people always already know that about who I am and about my personality. So when I know, when they come to me with a question, or they say, Famira, I just want to run something by you, or what do you think about this, then I know that they recognize that that's who I am, so they really want the answer. They're really ready for however it's going to come, and there's no concern in regards to their authority or their title or their platform or anything like that, because the invitation has been made. And so then I'm able to really operate from the soul self level and give them what's in me to give to them. So
That's good. That's good. Well, um, all of you may or may not know that I am a really, really big fan of Super Soul Sunday. That's like my favorite television show. And so I was really looking forward to us talking today. I really wanted to talk about it today because I really I wanted to know from you all, because I do have a great respect for each one of you ladies in your own right. I have a great respect for you. And so one of the things that I have been wondering, and I would love for us to talk about, is what times in your life, and it can be, your past, it can be something in the past, it could be right now, or it could be something that you're building, and so it's going to show up in your future. But what times in your life, what times in your lives allow you to what's the word I'm looking for? I want to say authenticate, but I don't want to use that word. What allows you to be in the space, in the room full of people? What allows you to build that space where you can kind of tuck off to the side and commune with God from that deepest place within yourself? Because I know, for me, let me just give you an example of what I'm asking. For me, I am really big on teaching people how to communicate with God, no matter where they are, no matter what they're doing, in lights and in explosions and sounds, how to go to that place that I call the soul, how to go to that place and to be able to reach out to God and have peace in those moments. And that comes into play in this conversation for me, because that is actually how I found my soul self, was in the noise and in the explosions and in the room full of people, and having to find a place in myself that was so soft and so gentle, and that even if my spirit was broken or my mind was confused or my heart was broken, that there was a place inside of me that could, this little small voice that could still kind of reach out and talk to God no matter what. So I see the soul as this entity in us that even when everything else is broken and everything else is fighting and everything else is kicking and everything else is screaming, and even with our physical selves, we sometimes put our hands over it, it's still in the background saying, I'm standing up for you. I'm fighting for you. And so but you have to be able to get to that place no matter what. And so part of me finding my soul self was having to fight through all of the outside forces and all of the outside entities. And some of us may not be there. Some of you may have been there and you may have gotten lost, because you can find it and get lost. You know, you can lose. Right now, though, at this point in my life, I am operating in my soul self, but I'm operating in from that place because I have learned how to silence and quiet everything else, no matter where I am, what I'm doing, who's present, who's not present. I can get to that place where there's just me and God, and even if it's really, really, really quiet and the noise is really, really, really loud, I know that that place in me is reaching deeply. It's reaching, trying to touch the hand of God. I can hear that voice, even if it's at the faintest whisper, saying, I got your back, girl. You can do this. You can stand up. You can fight your way through it. I know it hurts. You know, I know you can't think straight. I know you haven't eaten in days. You lost your appetite. But I'm here, and I'm fighting for you, even when your physical self can't do it.
That's good. Are you going, Stevie?
I will go. If you, I'll go. Jesus, that's such an important question. Like Alaina said, I love Alaina because she was like, "That's good." Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And what happens, I think, is that for me, I'm on this perpetual journey of always getting to that point. Like I have not arrived to that, to just any place, because I've always been reinventing. And even in the journey of like discovering, defining, and refining, that's a continual journey for me. It's always about discovering. I think recently, probably about 2 weeks ago, when Terrence J was on campus at A&T, I got back so excited. I think I called Alaina, I inboxed Miss Madeline. I was like, y'all, I found it. I found that place. And it was for me to be, I was like, I need to be a host. That's who I am. That's where I am. I love the party. That's just me. And so I host, and I welcome, and I have people having fun. Life is a party. It truly is. That's how I look at it. And when I try to show up in certain things and put certain labels on me, it doesn't work. Any label that I've ever tried to put on me, it doesn't work. If I try to put entrepreneur, it doesn't work. If I try to put employee, it doesn't work. If I try to put any other label except for just Stevie on me, it doesn't work. At the end of the day, I'm just Stevie. Whether you see me here hosting the show, whether you see me anywhere, I'm just Stevie, because that's all I know how to be. And that's the thing. I think when I went through the journey of not having to be the authority on everything, I became everything. And it's just almost like, okay, when I wake up in the morning, this is what we're going to do. When I wake up the next morning, this is what I'm going to do. But I let myself enjoy the freedom of just being. And that's when everything magnetically came, just like a blessing. So right now, I'm kind of just living and not just existing. I'm here on this perpetual journey of becoming. And so I think what it is that you have to go through the journey. Or for me, I'm always through the journey because I'm always growing, and trust yourself and trust God. And so when I learned that, I'm able to even come with a different swag, come with a different piece, come with a different being of who I am, because I'm falling into what God has created me to be, and everything else is secondary. Whatever, whoever thinks, whatever, that's secondary.
All right. And that's good. That's good because the reality is that to function from your soul self, you really have to be at a place where you're okay with whatever God says for whatever moment of whatever day and whatever year and whatever month. And so when I make this statement right now, today at 3:40 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I am functioning. me 100% in my soul self, because I'm here and I'm having a conversation, which is what I do, right? I talk, and I'm talking about the thing that I love the most, which is the authentic self and that soul place, that place of divinity. And so right now, this is me. This is 100% Maryland. Like, this is 100%. Like, right now, I'm check. This is God. This is God right here, because this is the best place for me that I could be in this moment in my life. And so I love that, Stevie, that you said you keep reinventing yourself, because it allowed me to go back and say, right, exactly that what I said right now in this moment. I am operating 100% in my soul self, and it feels good, and I'm smiling. And if y'all are looking at me like continuously, I'm like, I just have like this big old smile, because this feels so good, so real, and so right to me. And so my desire, my true desire, is that everyone that I meet would be able to feel like this same thing, that it feels so good. You know what I'm saying? That you're always going to want to be in this place. So you're always going to want to do the work. You're always going to want to do whatever you have to do to be in a place that feels so good that, like, you can't stop smiling.
And when you get to that peace, again, I put something yesterday, it's Bible, but that peace that passes all understanding, when you get to that place, it doesn't, none of the rest of this stuff matters. Like, who's in your corner, who's not, what material possession you have, because really, I mean, I think I put on Alaina's Facebook a little while ago. People go through this perpetual thing to find this one thing they're chasing, going crazy, trying to keep this one thing, trying to find this one thing, and they just fall off from it because of the fact that they don't know it's already inside of them. And they don't have a relationship with themselves and with God to know. At the end of the day, and I think I've lost so much and transformed so much, even with hair. I love my hair, but I did the big chop. I had no hair. I had a car, had no car. It's so much stuff that I've had and gone. I had a job, no job. It's like I've seen both sides of almost every single coin that you could ever toss in your life. So now it doesn't matter, because that stuff I've had and gone through the journey and going through the journey, and that's the thing that I'm connected to. Anything else that is a living, breathing soul who is dynamically impacting my life, I don't need it.
All right. Love it. You're beautiful, Alaina O.
What'd you say, Marilyn?
I said the beautiful Alaina O.
Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. I am just so full with this conversation because, yeah. So you asked about us, going into the explosion, going into the fray, kind of, and still having that God peace with us, being settled into that peace, and it's so interesting because I gotta be real. When I disconnected from the world system so that I could, get in my God space and, start hearing who I was and hearing who He, wanted to be in my life, I just totally, I dejected. I pulled away from all of that. And I have been in this quiet space of, meditation and prayer and journaling, just soul writing and, just really just this whole cultivation of oneness. And I have been here for years, and I haven't gone back into the explosion yet. I haven't gone back into the crowds and just all this stuff going on out there. And, it's very interesting because I know that I pulled away, or that I was pulled away for the purposes of, being strengthened so that I could go back out there and, share a message and share my story and, just share. And, oh, I'm in a little baby. It's weird because it's like a half comfort zone, maybe, maybe not, and then half who I really am. You know, because I do a lot of study around just archetypal psychology. And when I acknowledge, you know, my archetypal
Mhm.
family, the mystic and the hermit, and you know, those are really a part of how I get strength and
Yes.
how I am built up. And so it's like, at the same time, though, I know that I have this call on my life. And, you know, if I put both of those things side by side at the same time, I have to remember to remind myself to go out into the explosion. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So just wow, thank you. I don't know. Go ahead, Famira. I'm
I don't know. I'm over here like, like what I'm about to say. Hold on, because it's like it's so much. I mean, you know, this conversation is so good. It's just so much. But when we talking about the soul self, you know, for me, that is definitely equivalent in the soul self is me being authentic at its purest level. I mean,
mm,
because even when you look at the definition of authentic, it says, because I looked it up, of undisputed origin, genuine. And so when I think of the fact that my undisputed origin is that I'm a child of God, I mean, it's just equivalent to the soul self piece. And so for me, especially in the last couple years, I feel like I have lived in the midst of the explosion, you know, like that you know, from, you know, being laid off and having to move back home and just financial things and all these different things. It's almost like I've been I feel like my life has been on the front lines for this period of time. And it's kind of like, when is that part over? You know, like when is the explosion piece over for me? But in doing that, I have to find a way to be able to tap into that inner peace and the
Yes.
fact, you know, that peace of God in order to be
Yes.
able to even function. I mean, because really, you know, a lot of things that I've gone through and that I'm still currently going through, people don't know. And so, you know, if people really knew everything that, you know, that I faced and that I've um gone through and I'm going through, by all accounts of how, like Alaina said, the world system, I should probably be crazy, depressed, and
mm,
in the bed. You know,
yeah.
definitely not thriving in the way that I am, but it is because of the fact that I am able to tap into that place. And really, the only way I can explain for me that I'm able to do so is that God has really blessed me with a divine gift of faith. And so people, you know, we all have our own measures of faith, but I know for me, that's my divine gift to be able to operate in very deep, deep levels of faith, of knowing, I mean, like almost like Job level faith. You know, no matter what is going on, you will not make me curse God. You will not make me doubt him, you know, and knowing that even in this journey that part of my call is that it is for someone else. Like I am one of my favorite books of the Bible. I was telling Marilyn, all my favorite books of the Bible, they actually all begin with E, which I'm still trying to figure out what that's about, but that's another conversation. But but all of them are people that were meant to be in situations where people were at the point of dying
Mm,
until they showed up. When you really look at them, it's Esther, who was, you know, appointed queen for such a time as this to save her people. There's Elijah and Elijah. Those are two of my favorites. We could talk about their mantles all day. But
Mhm.
there's also Ezekiel, who was definitely a prophet of demonstration. you know, and so even when he had a word for the people, it was always acted out through things that, you know, he experienced, you know, him laying down and stripping his clothes, you know, all these things that people was like, is he crazy? But it was really for people to see the demonstration through his life in order to make the change. And so because I recognize that, being the mantle that I carry, it helps me to tap into that inner space, because I mean, I literally cannot do what I do without God. And just being in a place of really knowing that, and part of it does have to do with my personality, the fact that you brought that up. I'm actually a very much so an introvert, even though I am the Diamond Diva. um, I gather my strength from being alone and being by myself and secluded, and having that time where it's just me and him in order to uh, rebuild up. You know, so I have to have those moments. I definitely, the compassion level that I have, when someone else hurts, I feel that, you know, empathetically, like physically feel people's pain. And so I have to be, I mean, in order for me to exist, I have to be able to tap into that place. And so it's definitely something that I know I can only do because of the divine level of faith that God has placed in me. There's no like, there's no other explanation for it. That's just, you know, that's what it is, and I have to continue to operate from that in order to be able to live.
All right, that's good. That's good. That's good. And so, um, lastly, ladies, because we are coming upon the 4 o'clock hour, this has been like so good. This is like one of those conversations where, you know, like back in the day when like two-way just came out, like the like, Famira, and then Famira, you call Alaina, and then Alaina, you call Steve. Oh, the party line. That's what we call it, girl. We should be on a party line with this one. But my last little piece of info, and see, for me, this is really giving me an opportunity. This is giving me a end to you all. It's allowing me the opportunity to be connected to you all, because I'm actually getting ready to do a radio interview, and the title of that I'm speaking from is the soul connection versus the soul tie. And so this is giving me an opportunity to be connected to you all on a soul to soul level, because I know that we all recognize that place. And so I want to say to you, Alaina, when you're ready to walk back into the explosion, I got your back, girl.
Look, I'm ready. All right. Thank you. Thank you.
If you are going to give someone a small piece of advice, just a small piece of advice of how to get to that place of that soul self, how to get to that purest place of authenticity where it knows no mask, it knows no fakeness, it doesn't know how to put on, it just knows how to be just Marilyn, just Stevie, just Famira, just Alaina. That's all it knows. And we don't silence it. If we don't silence that place, because that's what happens. That's what keeps us from operating in it. We silence it. And so, because that place is always speaking purity and divinity. So if you had to give someone some advice, one thing, and my thing is that I always tell people, before you start to try to do anything, especially when it comes to that pure place that is so precious to me, you have to get silent. Silence is absolutely, it's more than golden. It's eternal in this essence. Silence is eternal. To be able to get quiet enough to, and I don't necessarily mean get alone, because that's maybe not always possible. Some, you know, you have little children, or, you know, it may not always be possible to get alone, but it's possible to get quiet in your mind, quiet in your spirit. It's possible to get quiet. So I would say my one piece of advice would be, baby, get silent.
That's good. I would say, you know, that so often we talk about trusting God, but trusting God, we can't trust God if we don't trust ourselves, because the voice of God speaks through us. And so it is so, I mean, it is pertinent. It is just the beginning of everything to just be, even if you don't understand it, even if you don't, I mean, even if it doesn't make sense, it's not supposed to make sense when it is a faith led journey, that we're supposed to be on. So just trust yourself, trust God, and just take those steps, even if you don't understand it.
So that right there must be for somebody that is watching this or will be watching this, because I promise you, verbatim, that's what I was about to say.
Wow. Amen.
I promise you, verbatim, that's what I was about to say, was to not only trust God, but trust yourself in order to operate from that place of faith. So I don't believe in coincidence. So that is something that somebody needed a double portion of. And so I will just repeat it by saying, trust yourself and trust God in the process. Operate from, the place of courage that's within you in order to be able to trust, and trust in the process. I mean, and really look at it for the journey that it is. Oftentimes people, for me, I think people mistake what the true destination is. People think that the destination is success, or they think that the destination is, the house, the lifestyle. Um, so, being the international speaker, traveling the world, that's the destination. That's not really the destination. That's still part of the journey. And so the true destination is when you leave here and, from this physical plane, and spiritually are connected with your creator. That's the destination. So everything along the way is the journey. And I think when you take that thought process around it, then it's easier to reach to that place of your soul self, because you recognize that no matter what it looks like on the outside, this is just one leg of the journey. And so I have to go through this leg in order to get to the next part, and to get to the next part to get to the ultimate destination, and that's to be with Christ.
I'll say, always have your blinders and your rollerblades. Any of you guys know me, you know that I always talk about blinders and rollerblades. And blinders, if you don't know what horses wear to keep them focused, you can't look left, you can't look right. You gotta keep focused. Rollerblades, I move quick. That's how I operate. But if it's not how you operate, wear your roller skates. Wear the little kid. I used to have some Cabbage Patch Kids shoes, skates when I didn't know how to skate, that help me guide. So if you gotta wear those, wear those. Whatever you got to do, but keep it moving. That's the ultimate thing. Keep it moving, and always be focused. It's some things have happened. Like, a lot of stuff happens behind the scenes for me. And the people who know me know, these ladies, they'll get a call or a text or inbox and be like, oh my God, y'all, I can't. And you have to have those people to kind of help you keep focused and push you along. Your legs might get tired one day. You got to keep it moving, though. So you got to have those people in your life. And it's your journey. Discovering, defining, and refining is not a destination. It's not a set day you're going to get to each of these places. But it's the perpetual journey of you going and going and going. And when action comes, then satisfaction and success and all those things reign. I can't stop, won't stop. Dr. Renee Sunday, who I love, she always says, "Don't stop, get it, get it." It's you got to. What do you click to? That's what my pastor says. What do you click to? Once you answer that question and know there's nothing else, there's nothing else for me to do except for do the things that I've been commissioned to do in life. If I don't do it, then it's nothing else. There's no backup plan. There's no option. I got to keep doing it. So those are the things.
Wow, wow, wow. Have we not had a conversation today, ladies? Oh my God. I'm
Yes,
so,
ma'am.
so super excited. And as much as I want to give the last word, I'm just going to say this, that I thank God that all of us are connected to the one true God. so that we know and understand that there are moments when even if you want to be like the last word, you have to concede when the Holy Spirit is speaking. And so I want to be the last word, but I won't be the last word today because the Holy Spirit is speaking very loudly. And so, Alaina, I'm going to divert the final word to you, my dear.
Wow. The Holy Spirit, he didn't say nothing to me. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Um, yeah, this was so on point, Marilyn, and I'm so glad that you brought this to the table because this is the, this is the groove, that we have to be willing to live in. And this is the space that we have to, this is what the courage of womanhood, of beingness, is all about. Just, being willing to commit to that process of becoming real, of detaching from that world system, of connecting to who God says you are, what God says you can do, what he says you can have. And, just being willing to just get in that quiet space and just let him nurture you, let him be that loving father and that parent. And, you know, you are safe. You are safe, and you're safe to do it at your own your own pace, your own pace. And so just trust, and just be willing to go there. There is nothing that is going to harm. There's nothing that is going to harm. You're in the palm of his hand, and he has you. He has you. That's the safest place that you can possibly be. You don't have to do more, be more, have more, know more. You don't have to do any of that. The time to come into that authentic that authentic beingness of who you were created to be is now. And so I bid you blessings, I bid you strength, I bid you prosperity, I bid you bloom on your journey, and thank you.
Thank you guys for joining us today. See you next week, same time on The Conversation.
Bye.